The right honourable members have leave to bring in the bill. Iqbal Mohamed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the right honourable member for Basildon and Billericay states, there are documented health risks with first cousin marriage, and I agree this is an issue. This is an issue that needs greater awareness on. Virginity testing, forced marriages, and the freedom of women must be forced marriage must be prevented, and the freedom of women must be protected at all times. However, the way to redress this is not to empower the state to ban adults from marrying each other, not least because I don't think it would be effective or enforceable. Instead, the matter needs to be approached as a health awareness issue and a cultural issue where women are being forced against their will to undergo marriage. In doing so, it is important to recognise for many people this is a highly sensitive issue, and in discussing it, we should try to step into the shoes of those who perhaps are not from the same culture as ours, to better understand why the practice continues to be so widespread. An estimated 35 to 50% of all sub-Saharan African populations either prefer or accept cousin marriages, and it is extremely common in the Middle East and in South Asia. The reason the practice is so common is that ordinary people see family intermarriage overall as something that is very positive, something that helps build family bonds and helps put families on a more secure financial foothold. However, as is well documented, it is not without health risks for the children of those relationships, some of whom will be born out of wedlock. Instead of stigmatizing those who are in cousin marriages or those inclined to be, a much more positive approach would be to facilitate advanced genetic test screening for prospective married couples, as is the case in all Arab countries in the Persian Gulf, and more generally to run health education programs targeting those communities where the practice is most common. I would therefore urge the House to vote against this motion and to find a more positive approach to addressing the issues that are caused by first cousin marriages, including the health risks and the consequences of modern conflicts and displacement of population around the world. Thank you.
The question is that our right honourable member have leave to bring in the bill. As many as their opinions say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Right Honourable Robert Jenrick, Dan Carden, Right Honourable Claire Coutinho, David Smith, Neil O'Brien, Lee Anderson, Mr Andrew Snowden, John Lamont, Nick Timothy, Katie Lamb and Right Honourable Laura Trott, and myself, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Mr Richard Holden.
Thank you very much. Marriage Prohibited Degrees of Relationship Bill.
Second reading what day?
January the 17th.
January the 17th, 2025. Thank you. The clerk will now proceed to read the orders of the day.
Finance Bill Committee.
Order. Under the order of the House of 27th of November, we shall now move to Committee of the whole House. Order.
Finance Bill, Clause 7 and Schedule 1, Clauses 8 to 11 and Schedule 2, Clause 12, Clauses 15 to 18, Schedule 3, Clauses 47 to 53, and any new clauses or new schedules relating to the subject matter of those clauses and those schedules.
I remind members that in committee, members should not address the Chair as Deputy Speaker. Please use our names when addressing the Chair, Madam Chair or Chair will suffice. We will begin with Clause 7, Stand Apart, with which it will be convenient to consider the clauses Stand Apart, schedules and new clauses on the selection paper. The question is that Clause 7 stand part of the bill. I now call the Minister, Tulip Siddiq.
Thank you. Since 2010, the UK has experienced low productivity, rising debt levels and declining public services. Public sector net debt is its highest since the early 1960s at 98.5% of GDP, and per capita GDP remains lower than before the COVID-19 pandemic. In July of this year, the government uncovered a challenging fiscal and spending inheritance with a £22 billion in-year pressure in the public services. The OBR's review into March spending forecasts conclude that had the information that has since been shared by the Treasury been made available to them at the time of the March budget, there would have been a materially higher DEL forecast for 2024 to 2025. This was the result of the previous government not factoring in the impact of a series of new, challenging pressures on the public finances, not taking the difficult decisions needed to address these pressures, and instead making a series of commitments that they could not fund. This government is committed to fixing the foundations and delivering a decade of national renewal, and to do so, we must turn the page and take a different approach. And at autumn budget, the House would have seen that the Chancellor set out the government's first steps to repair the public finances by taking the tough decisions needed to address the £22 billion in-year pressures to avoid further damage to our public services, including securing £5.5 billion of savings. We're also putting in place significant reforms to strengthen our fiscal and spending framework, which will improve certainty, transparency and accountability and ensure this can never happen again. This government is taking the tough decisions on tax, spending and welfare that are necessary to repair the public finances and restore economic and fiscal stabilities. These choices are not easy, but they are transparent, they are responsible, and with such a difficult fiscal position, they will ensure that the government can deliver on our commitments to not increase taxes on working people. The changes to the main rates of